Right, we're going to repeat on this side what we did on that side, so bear in mind pads are going to be changed anyway, so we're going to remove them, free off the sliders, hopefully there'll be no issues there, and clean up the suspension as well. So we're going to do a few jobs, quicker video because it's going to be a repeat of next door, what we did next door. So yeah, hopefully it all works out. So we'll just whack the wheel off. This is the worst wheel on the car. This is definitely going to be the spare wheel going forward. The car's backed up. Doesn't even tie. Stuck. You can see how long it's been standing here. Right. This is definitely part 2 of this expedition, because I call it archaeology or expedition, because underneath here I'm hoping it's exactly the same as the other side. I mean, look at that. It's an actual web. Oh god. I literally thought, is this a nest? It's something. You got your haystack. Lovely, that was quite satisfying actually. I hope it's satisfying to actually watch this, because it is literally a car being transformed. Look at these fuel pipes as well, because I had a feeling that it's just a bit rusty. Just in this section here, hopefully we can treat that before it gets worse. But it feels okay. We might have just got there in time. Yeah, discs again, you know, the usual detritus. Brake pads wearing a bit, well, not thin, but you know, they're going to be changed. Train arm bushes, yeah, same as usual. There's some cracks here. Hasn't completely separated from its bush though, so yeah, it should be fine. But plenty of factory paint in here. This is why I'm thinking I need to go and see if there are, what sort of clear waxes are out there, because I need something that is not going to get rid of this factory silver, you know, unlike the one over here where they didn't really paint much in the wheel arches, but when they did it wasn't very good. Yeah, this definitely should not be covered up. So I'm going to think of a few things. I think there's something called Morris, something Morris wax. It's cavity wax possibly, but basically it's what people in the rat look scene choose to actually show that rustic effect. I'm not all for the rustic effect, but with this car it's very original. And I don't really want to be messing around with it like I did with the Focus. I mean, the Focus needed messing around because there were so many bits of it that had just fallen apart, you know, that fix or repair daily. Pretty much, look at that. Just taking these bungs out and shoot some cavity wax down into them at some point. Anyway, let's crack on. Let's get these brakes sorted. Bit of a wire brush and then we'll sort these sliders out. Now, I had a few people actually say ages ago that I should be wearing a mask. Quite right, I should be wearing a mask. This side I'm actually wearing a proper full-on mask. It will keep the worst out, particularly brake dust. So yeah, let's crack on. You might not hear my voice, so I'm just going to crack on. I'm going to take the pin out, the clevis pin, pull the handbrake, pull the R clip. It's an R clip, not a clevis pin. The R clip, and then pull the pin up. Take the handbrake out the way, and we'll start looking at releasing the actual caliper itself. Oh. Easy as you like. Out. we go. Now I can see the handbrake is off and the handbrake is against its stopper, so that's a good sign. I didn't actually check this side when I did the other side earlier, but yeah, that's absolutely fine. Alright, I suppose now I'll take out the slider bolts. Here we go. Down. There we go, really easy. Out they come. So just take two out. I'm beginning to like rear disc brakes. I am beginning to like them because drums are an absolute pain. Well, they're not too bad, they need a bit of wire brushing, but do that later. There we go. Tap, 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 tap. Now disturb that, there we go. And the whole thing should just, there we go, just come off. There we go. Inner pad. Again, there's just bits and chunks. I don't know if the camera can pick that up, but there are. Yeah, they're quite a well away from the actual the wear indicator. If you see where the wear indicator stops, it's got a long way to go, but nah, no chance. And that other one, oh my goodness. Jesus, no wonder there's no. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's not good. Yeah. We'll remove some of it. You know, it's messy when you can't actually see any of the bolts. They're just missing in loads of clumps of dirt. Right, some penetrating fluid. We're gonna need it. Okay. Gone. Needs a tap to get it on. When the rust is expanded, the bolt. No, I'm going to get this right before I put this on, because this could lead, in my experience, to rounding. And it usually does. That is square on. I'll put my hand to keep it where it is. Straight off, done. So here, put it out, push it in. But that's one lazy slider. This one, oh, it's come off the boot. Wow, it doesn't want to come back out at all. This definitely needs some work. Yep, we'll clean that up and clean these bolts up. Now we just got to clean this up fully, and then get that piston set back in. sorry, take my mask off. I think we can say that it's far worse than, far less worse than what it looked. Yeah, still cobwebs everywhere. But I'm looking down there, and that's the side of the tank. We'll clean all this up. I think a lot of the fuel stuff goes up this side, so we'll definitely have a look down here. I'm just waiting for the battery of my drill to charge up, hence why I'm a bit desperate, aren't I? But hey, I don't know what I prefer, being this dusty. I mean, it really is dusty in here. It's quite dry. You haven't had any rain for like 2 hours, and that's typical in this country. I like the fact that when you wire brush things back, you can actually see the names. Lucas, yay, that's a brand you can depend on. Not. I was concerned about these arms, but you know what? If the bushes are good, they're fine. They're coming up really nice. They're not like arms, the bottom arms that you get like on a Focus, where they just flake and flake and flake until they're absolutely nothing. But these arms, you can see the profile in them. They haven't got that sort of that look to them where they've lost metal in really bad places and look basically susceptible to snapping. But these look absolutely fine. I'll just keep going. I'm going to position that here. Since we've brushed it down, I suggest we have it again. Same procedure as before on that other side. Just pull the side of pins out. Oh dear. Straight away I think we see the problem. This is what will this camera focus in? But if you can see, it's just covered in, that's copper grease. That's why it's not working. And the other one, probably just as bad. Yep, exactly the same. I mean, look at that. Look at that. So, brake pad missing half its meat. These not working. I can see why things got a bit tricky for this side. Just take the rubbers out. So just gently pop them out. There we go. Fine. Yeah, I'm going to need a lot of brake cleaner down these holes. And again, first thing I do before I put brake cleaner in is put penetrating fluid in. I'll just give it a bit of a wire brush, just to clean the clips, because they do get a bit gunged up. Right, see that? There we go. Just get it nice and sliding. Just breaks up all that gunge, and half of it is actually coming out. There we go. You can actually see half of it gets taken out by the actual slider itself. Okay. Then we get some brake cleaner, and then shoot it out. There we go. Yeah, lovely. I'm just going to leave that upside down so it just drips out very slowly. And these can be cleaned up quite nicely. Luckily they haven't completely pitted. They are still usable. Yeah, that's all good. As long as they cleaned up well and there's no massive signs of pitting. I know they're not. They've lost a little bit of colour, but they're okay. That's the main thing. Now I know I'm repeating myself quite a bit, but I think it's important to actually get this procedure right, because sliders, sliding calipers have been around since what, the 1980s. Before then, calipers had one piston at the back and then another piston at the front, making them quite bulky on the wheels. Obviously you couldn't fit certain type of wheels with the size of caliper,
But then obviously sliding calipers came out. The idea is you have one piston on that side, so the back side, and what actually happens so that the front pads work is this slider will literally, the first time you touch the brake, the slider will pull this side of the caliper that way. It will actually allow the caliper to naturally slide inwards. As the piston acts on the pad, it will actually bring the outer side, using this slider, into contact with this face. Otherwise it wouldn't work without sliders. And if these aren't working, then this is not, the backside pad is working but the front side isn't working as well, or not at all. They can have a massive effect on well, could be the difference between passing an MOT braking test and not. So that's the way you do it. And yeah, clean the pieces here. I'll put some brake cleaner all over this. Okay, just clean it all through. Now, I haven't really cleaned up the caliper yet, so I'm going to quickly do that before putting this back together. I will have to come back on another day because we're losing light quite rapidly now. Sign of the times, guys. This is my caliper wind back kit. I'll just show you this quickly. I mean, this cost 15 quid off eBay, right? You get everything under the sun, and it also falls out. But literally, you've got everything there in one kit. Those are the sort of things that you could save a lot of money on. Brakes are not hard. I know people don't like touching them because it's brakes, you know, it's the one thing that's stopping us from dying. It's true. You've just got to have a little bit of confidence that you can actually do it yourself. Ideally, that's the best they'll actually clean up, but not too bad. But that is almost ready to go back in. I will bolt this down once I've got the caliper cleaned, and I've got to wind it back. Another important note is clean your hardware, including these clips. You might not think they do much, but they do. So give it a good clean up, okay, best as you can. There might be some score marks here and there, but it's not a brand new item. I think new pads come with one of these, but nevertheless I'm just going to stick it back on there. Now I am actually going to show you one thing. It is important, if I move the camera just, okay, it is important that you clean all around here, around the piston, give it a good clean. I mean, I was going to put some red rubber grease, but since I'm actually taking these off, again, it doesn't really matter. I have cleaned all around the handbrake assembly to make sure that dirt is away. I will put some brake cleaner over actually. Just move that handbrake and just put some brake cleaner over the whole thing. It is important to clean this fully because this is where the pads sit, and if this is bulging, if there's some dirt underneath, and I'll just flip that one off. In fact, I'll clean that back even more. If there's any dirt, then that clip will stick above this ridge. That's it. Yeah, so they're not going to be as effective. Clip that back in. Okay, make sure that it is clipped down. Should be a little groove there, and they sit nicely in there. Again, same with this, just make sure there's no dirt behind it, and you're all set to go. So we'll whack these two bolts back in, got the caliper back over, put the sliders in. Next thing, before we wind back the calipers, take the cap off, let it breathe. Right here. Right, that's it.
like that stiff. So this caliper hasn't been moved in ages.
I always tell it's tight when the seal actually moves.
I'm just going to
Put this back in. And there's some penetrating fluid just to help it out. This caliper is very stiff.
Right, 20 minutes later and it's quite dark. As you can see, the problem we have here, a seized piston, I get it moving about 1/8 of a turn, but the boot doesn't want to move. So I'm trying to use silicone spray to ease it back in position. I think it has just moved, but I'll just have to get it in position, because if that rips, I'm done for. New caliper. 2 new calipers actually.
Well, I managed to wind the piston somewhat back in, but the seal, it's all over the place. Oh dear. You know what? New caliper. Add that to the bill. And with a bang, good night.